Welcome to our world of myopia management, specifically what's happening over in Lebanon. We're going to be looking at two reports by Dr. Gilbert Nkuzi,
Okay.
the State of Myopia Management in Lebanon for both 2024 and 2025.
Right.
And along with that, we've got survey responses from Lebanese optometrists.
Excellent.
Now, I have to admit, I used to think, myopia, it's just needing glasses, a little bit of an inconvenience.
Yeah.
But these reports, they really highlight that it's a much bigger deal, even linked to some pretty serious eye diseases down the road.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of people have that same misconception. It's just a refractive error. It's just needing glasses. But it is a global epidemic, really.
Right.
Projections are showing that by 2050, half the world's population could have myopia.
Wow.
It's a huge number.
That's wild.
Dr. Nkuzi, who, by the way, holds a BSc, MBA, and DBA, so he's quite...
Wow, overachiever.
He really knows what he's talking about. Yeah, it frames this as a 21st century eye health threat in his reports. So yeah, it's a big deal. And his work really gives us a direct look into what's happening on the ground in Lebanon.
Okay, so myopia is a big deal. But I think even I need a refresher. Like, what exactly is it besides needing glasses?
Sure. Well, the World Health Organization defines myopia as a refractive error where the light focuses in front of the retina instead of directly on it. Yeah. So essentially the eye is either too long or the cornea is too curved, and that's what's causing the blurry vision.
Gotcha.
And just a fun fact, Aristotle actually wrote about this way back in 350 BC.
Oh, wow.
So we've known about myopia for a really long time. It's just becoming a much bigger problem now.
Going all the way back to Aristotle. That's pretty wild. So you mean it sounds like it's not just blurry vision. You mentioned serious eye diseases earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So myopia increases the risk of a whole bunch of conditions, things like cataracts, glaucoma, retinal detachment, and macular degeneration later in life. And these can have a pretty significant impact on vision, even leading to blindness in some cases.
That's some scary stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not just about, seeing clearly now. It's about protecting your vision for the future.
Exactly.
And that's where this whole myopia management thing comes in, right?
Exactly. That's exactly where it comes in.
The reports mention that a lot.
Yeah. So myopia management, it's a proactive approach.
Okay.
And it's all about trying to slow down the progression of myopia, especially in kids.
Okay.
So we're not just correcting vision, we're actually trying to influence how the eye develops.
Gotcha.
To reduce those long-term risks.
So it's not just like glasses or contacts then?
Well, glasses and contacts, they're important for clear vision.
Right.
But myopia management goes further. It aims to stabilize what's called the axial length of the eye.
Okay.
That's just the measurement from front to back.
Right.
If we can keep that from increasing too rapidly, we have a much better chance of preventing those more serious problems later on.
Gotcha. So catching it early is crucial.
Absolutely. Yeah, early intervention is key. Dr. Nkuzi's 2024 report, he specifically mentions the importance of starting management at the juvenile onset, meaning as soon as it's detected in childhood.
Okay.
And it's not like you stop at age 18 either. Myopia can continue to progress into adulthood, so ongoing management is often necessary.
Wow. This is making me really rethink everything I thought I knew about myopia.
I know, right?
Way more complex than I realized.
It's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah. And speaking of complex, the reports also, delve into the risk factors involved, right?
They do. Yeah. And what's really interesting is that you have some risk factors that are just things we can't control.
Okay.
Like genetics, your ethnicity, even gender. It's like you're dealt a certain hand.
Yeah.
But then there are what we call modifiable risk factors, things we can actually influence.
Okay. So what can we actually, change to reduce the risk?
Well, the big ones are near work. So things like reading or using computers, and then the amount of time spent indoors.
Right.
Those have really been shown to contribute to myopia development.
Really?
Dr. Nkuzi actually cites the 2019 IMI myopia report, showing that it's not just one or the other.
Right.
It's the interplay of those genetics and environment that really matters.
So even if you're, predisposed genetically, lifestyle choices can still play a role.
Exactly, yeah. 100%.
Wow. Okay. So that brings us to, I guess, the next big question, which is, what can we actually do about myopia?
Right.
The reports mention a whole range of treatments, right?
Yeah, they do. And it's a landscape that's constantly evolving as well.
Right.
Some treatments are FDA approved specifically for myopia management, while others are what we call used off-label, meaning they're approved for other eye conditions, but they've shown some promise in slowing myopia progression as well. And then there are also various combination therapies where different treatments are used together for a more aggressive approach.
Okay. So can you give me some examples? Like, what do those treatments actually look like?
Sure. So one example is atropine eye drops.
Oh, okay.
They've shown really good results in slowing down myopia progression.
Gotcha.
Then there are specialized spectacle lenses. You've got things like DOT lenses, CARE lenses, DIMS, and...
Wow. So many acronyms.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But these lenses, they manipulate how light focuses on the retina, which helps to slow down eye growth.
Okay.
And then you've got orthokeratology.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard about that one.
Yeah, orthoc. So that involves wearing special contact lenses overnight that gently reshape the cornea. And then this temporarily corrects your vision during the day. And it's also been shown to be effective in managing myopia progression.
Wow. It's amazing how many different approaches there are.
You know, it's a whole field. And speaking of approaches, I have to give a shout out to Optic Nkuzi. They're doing such important work in Lebanon by distributing some key myopia management lenses.
Oh, cool.
Like Presilins, DRL, orthoc lenses, and Bode lenses, myopia management ophthalmic lenses.
Okay.
Really helping to make these treatments accessible to people.
That's great. Okay. So we have all these treatments, but the reports also make a point of saying that not everything works.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, there are some myths out there about myopia management.
Yeah, a lot of myths, actually.
So what are some of those?
Well, it's important to dispel those myths. The 2023 Myopia Consensus Statement, which Dr. Nkuzi references a lot, does a great job of really outlining what does and doesn't work.
Okay.
So, for example, undercorrection, where you're given a weaker prescription than you need, has actually been proven to be ineffective.
Really?
Yeah. And things like pinhole glasses, blue light blocking glasses, those aren't really backed by strong evidence either.
Okay. So what does actually work?
Well, what does work are behavioral interventions. Things like increasing your time spent outdoors, reducing screen time, taking breaks from near work can make a real difference. And then, of course, those treatments we discussed. Atropine eye drops, specialized spectacle lenses, orthokeratology, what we call EDOF lenses, or extended depth of focus lenses, have all shown promise in slowing myopia progression.
Okay.
So there are things that work.
It's interesting how lifestyle factors play such a crucial role here.
They do, yeah.
It's like with so many health issues, prevention, early intervention are key. But speaking of intervention, there's this concept I found a bit concerning, which is the rebound effect.
Oh, yeah. The rebound effect. Can you talk about that?
So the rebound effect refers to the possibility that myopia might worsen after stopping certain treatments.
Really?
Yeah. So a 2024 review by Sanchez et al., which he cites, recommends assuming rebound will occur until proven otherwise.
Wow.
It's kind of like a better safe than sorry approach.
So careful monitoring and management are vital even after treatment is stopped.
Exactly, yeah. Long-term care is really important. Gotcha. And this is where those surveys from Lebanese optometrists give us some valuable on-the-ground insights.
They do, yeah. It's a real, a window into how these concepts are being applied in real-world practice.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm really curious to see what they reveal. What kind of challenges are these optometrists facing?
Yeah.
How are they communicating this whole myopia management importance to their patients, especially since it's kind of a new way of thinking about eye care.
Right.
So I guess we'll find out in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah, definitely. Stay tuned for that.
Okay, so let's get into those survey responses from the Lebanese optometrists. It's like getting a behind-the-scenes look at how this is all actually playing out.
It is, yeah. And one of the first things that jumps out is that, while awareness of myopia management is growing, the adoption of these practices, it varies quite a bit.
Okay.
You have some optometrists who've had pretty extensive training,
right,
while others have had limited or even no training in this area.
That makes sense, I guess. It's a relatively new field, so not every optometrist would have had the opportunity to, get up to speed yet.
Exactly. And that difference in training, it naturally affects what they're able to offer in their practices.
Right.
It also kind of feeds into some of the challenges that they reported facing.
Okay. Well, speaking of challenges, what were some of the things that came up in those surveys?
Well, the most common ones were lack of training, of course.
Yeah.
The cost of equipment needed for myopia management.
Right.
And then time constraints during appointments.
Yep.
They also mentioned patient compliance.
Of course.
which is always a factor with any long-term treatment plan. And then financial concerns like low reimbursement rates from insurance companies, and then the initial investment required to actually implement these new services.
Yeah. It sounds like a classic case of good intentions meeting practical realities. It's one thing to understand how important this is, but it's another thing to actually integrate it into a busy practice with existing resources, financial constraints.
Oh, for sure. And I think we also have to remember that this is a real paradigm shift in how we think about eye care.
Right.
It's moving away from simply correcting vision to actually managing a condition with long-term implications.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a whole new way of thinking, not just for the optometrists, but for patients and parents too.
Absolutely.
Right? So how are optometrists in Lebanon explaining this new approach to their patients? How are they getting the message across about how important this is?
Well, the surveys revealed a mix of strategies. Many rely on educational materials like brochures and pamphlets, just to provide some basic information about myopia and its management.
Right. So giving people something tangible they can take home and actually read at their own pace.
Exactly, yeah. But they also really emphasize the importance of in-person consultations.
Yeah.
So those one-on-one conversations that allow them to tailor the information to each patient's specific situation.
Right.
And answer any questions they might have.
It's all about building that trust and rapport.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that patients feel comfortable.
Exactly.
Asking questions and really taking ownership of their eye health.
Yeah, it's about empowering them. Some optometrists even mentioned involving their staff members in the education process. So it's like a real team approach to patient care.
Oh, that's cool. So it sounds like a multi-pronged approach is really key here. Meeting people where they are and using different communication styles to make sure the message gets through.
Yeah, 100%. And remember, myopia management can be a long-term commitment. So building that trust and open communication from the start, it's crucial.
Definitely. And I imagine that trust also plays a role in overcoming some of those financial concerns we talked about earlier. If parents and patients really understand the long-term benefits, they might be more willing to invest in these treatments, even if they're not fully covered by insurance.
That's a really good point, yeah. It's about seeing the value in that long-term investment in their eye health.
Exactly. Okay, well, speaking of long-term vision, the surveys also ask optometrists about their perception of future demand for these services.
Right.
What do they have to say about that?
Well, the overwhelming response was that they expect demand to increase significantly in the coming years.
Okay.
They really see the shift towards proactive eye care as a growing trend, not just in Lebanon, but globally.
That's interesting. So it sounds like they're not just reacting to the current situation. They're really anticipating a future where myopia management just becomes like a standard part of eye care.
Exactly, yeah. And it makes sense when you consider the rising prevalence of myopia worldwide.
Right.
And the growing awareness of its potential long-term consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. This brings us back to the crucial role that optometrists play in all of this. It's not just examining eyes and prescribing glasses anymore. They're educating patients.
Right.
They're managing a complex condition. They're advocating for better eye health overall.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And Dr. Nakuzi's reports, they really highlight that. He sees optometrists as being on the front lines of this fight against myopia.
Yeah.
They're the ones having these conversations with patients every day.
Right.
Explaining the risks.
Right.
Recommending treatments.
Yeah, exactly. But he also, acknowledges the need for further training and resources and support to make sure they can actually effectively manage this growing epidemic, right?
He does. Yeah, for sure.
The challenges they outlined in the surveys really underscore that need. So what can be done to provide that support?
Mm-hmm.
Did the surveys offer any, solutions?
They did, yeah. Several optometrists mentioned the need for more training programs, specifically focused on myopia management.
Okay.
Equipping them with the latest knowledge and techniques.
Right.
They also highlighted the importance of financial incentives to help offset the cost of equipment and make these services more accessible to patients.
Okay, that makes sense. If we want them to embrace this new approach, we need to give them the tools and resources they need to succeed.
Exactly. And there was also a really strong call for marketing assistance to help raise awareness among the public.
Yeah.
Many felt that a wider public awareness campaign could actually drive demand for these services and make it easier for them to have those conversations with patients.
Yeah, so it sounds like a collaborative effort is needed here, involving everyone from healthcare professionals to policymakers, and even the public.
I completely agree. Yeah. And that collaboration, it extends beyond optometry as well.
Oh, okay.
Many respondents emphasize the importance of working with other healthcare professionals like ophthalmologists,
Right.
pediatricians to provide that really comprehensive myopia management. It's about creating a real network of support and expertise.
That's a great point. So it's not just about, like, siloed specialties. It's about a more holistic approach to eye care that recognizes how interconnected different health issues are.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not just about treating the symptoms. It's about really addressing those underlying causes and promoting healthy habits from a young age.
This is really making me think about the bigger picture here. We started with this specific focus on myopia management in Lebanon.
Yeah.
But these insights have implications that go way beyond one country.
I agree 100%. This is really a global conversation.
Yeah.
The challenges and opportunities we've discussed are mirrored in countries all over the world.
It's a reminder that eye health is a fundamental part of overall health and well-being.
Absolutely.
And it's something that deserves our attention and investment.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Okay, well, as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I'm kind of curious to explore the potential long-term impact of all this,
Sure.
on individuals and society as a whole. We've talked about the individual risks, the challenges faced by optometrists, but what about the broader implications? Like, what happens if we don't address this issue effectively?
That's a crucial question, and one that deserves a lot of attention. And I think in the next part, we'll delve into those potential consequences of unmanaged myopia and really explore why this is a public health issue that demands action.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into myopia management in Lebanon.
Yeah.
We've talked about, like, the individual risks, the challenges optometrists are facing, this whole growing awareness.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to zoom out now and look at the bigger picture, What's the long-term impact of myopia, not just on individuals, but on society as a whole?
Yeah, it's a big question. And honestly, it can feel a bit overwhelming, I think, once you start to think about, the scale of it all.
Right.
We know myopia is more than needing glasses.
Right.
It's that risk of eye disease later in life.
Yeah.
But those individual risks, they really do translate into broader societal implications.
Okay, so let's talk about those consequences then. What happens if myopia is left unmanaged?
Sure.
What are the risks we're, like, really facing here on a larger scale?
Well, the risks are pretty significant, both for individuals and for society. As myopia progresses and that eyeball, keeps elongating, it puts more and more strain on those delicate structures inside the eye. And that strain can lead to a whole bunch of problems.
Like those serious eye diseases we talked about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Cataracts, glaucoma, all of that.
Yeah.
We're talking about a much higher risk of all those conditions.
Right.
And they can, significantly impair your vision, even leading to blindness in some cases.
Right.
So imagine the impact that has on a person's quality of life, their ability to work, to just live independently.
It's like a domino effect almost.
It really is.
And it makes you realize that unmanaged myopia isn't just a personal problem.
Right.
It's like a public health issue with these far-reaching consequences.
Absolutely. Think about, like, the economic burden of treating all these conditions.
Right.
The strain it puts on healthcare systems, the loss of productivity, it all adds up.
So it's not just about individual eye health. It's about the, well-being of society as a whole.
100%, yeah.
Wow, that's a powerful thing to realize. So we've talked about, early intervention. We've talked about the different treatment options. But is there anything we can do on a larger scale to actually, prevent myopia in the first place?
That's the million-dollar question. And the good news is that research is showing that lifestyle changes can play a huge role in prevention.
Okay.
Dr. Nikuzi, in his reports, he emphasizes this a lot. Increasing time spent outdoors, reducing those near-work activities, especially for kids,
right,
it really makes a difference.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. We've become such an indoor-focused society.
We have.
We're always staring at screens. It's easy to forget the importance of just simple things like going outside.
Yeah. It's not even just forgetting. It's almost like a cultural shift.
Yeah.
But our eyes, they evolved in an environment where we were spending most of our time outdoors, in natural light. So encouraging kids to play outside, to take breaks from those screens, to engage in activities that don't involve prolonged near work. These things can really make a big difference.
It's almost like we need, a public health campaign to promote eye health.
I think so. I think we really do.
Similar to what we've seen with, other health issues, like we need to get that message out there to parents, to educators, to policymakers.
Yeah, we need to raise awareness about the risks.
Right.
About early detection and the role those lifestyle choices play. Empower individuals to really take control of their eye health and advocate for, policies that promote healthy vision habits.
This has been such an eye-opening, no pun intended, deep dive.
I know. I love that. And, now that we've laid out the big picture, I think it's time to zoom in a bit.
You know what I mean?
Let's dive into those optometrist surveys and pull out some of those really powerful quotes and stories, the ones that really give a human face to all of this.
Okay, I like that. Let's hear it. So we've been talking big picture about myopia management in Lebanon, the challenges and the possible solutions and how important it is for everybody to work together. But I think it's really helpful to hear what the optometrists themselves are actually saying.
Yeah, for sure. Those survey responses that you gave me, they've got a lot of insightful quotes and little stories that really make this whole issue feel more real, more human.
Right.
For example, one optometrist said, and this is a direct quote, "Parents often come in thinking that glasses are the only way to fix their kids' myopia. It's hard to get them to understand that there are other things they can do to help slow it down."
That makes sense. It sounds like there's a lot of work to do when it comes to educating people, not just the public, but even other healthcare professionals.
Absolutely. And several other optometrists said the same kind of thing. One of them mentioned that it's sometimes tough to get referrals from ophthalmologists. They said some ophthalmologists still don't get how important myopia management is. They think it's unnecessary or that it costs too much.
It's frustrating when, something could really help people, but they don't want to listen.
Exactly. But, there are some hopeful signs in these surveys, too.
Oh, good.
Like one optometrist who's been doing myopia management for a while now said, "It's amazing to see how much these treatments can help kids. It makes me feel good knowing that I'm helping to protect their vision for the future."
That's what it's all about, right? Making a real difference in people's lives. I guess what we're seeing in Lebanon is kind of a turning point. There are still obstacles, but there's more awareness now, and people seem determined to make things better.
I agree. And I think this deep dive has shown that it's not just a Lebanon thing. This is something the whole world needs to deal with.
So for our listener who's been with us on this journey, what's the one thing you want them to remember?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is this: myopia isn't just some minor vision problem. It can have serious long-term effects on your health. But the good news is we have effective ways to manage it, and if we work together, we can really make a difference and protect people's vision.
So it's about knowing the facts, asking the right questions, and speaking up for yourself or your family. Don't just assume myopia is something you have to live with.
Exactly. The more you know about myopia and how to manage it, the better choices you can make.
This has been such an eye-opening, no pun intended, deep dive.
I know, right? It's fascinating.
We started with myopia management in Lebanon, but these insights, they're global. This is a conversation that needs to happen everywhere.
Absolutely. The challenges and opportunities, they're the same all over the world.
It's a reminder that we're all in this together, and that by working together, we can make a real difference in protecting vision, for generations to come.
Yeah, love that.
So for our listeners who are feeling inspired and want to learn more, what resources would you recommend?
Oh, there are some fantastic organizations doing incredible work in this field.
Okay.
The Brian Holden Vision Institute, the International Myopia Institute, the Review of Myopia Management, all excellent resources.
Okay.
And for those who, love social media, there's @Myopia Management HUB.
Perfect.
Great place to stay up to date.
Fantastic. We'll be sure to include links to those in the show notes. And I want to say a huge thank you to Dr. Gilbert Nkuzi for his groundbreaking reports, and to Optic Nkuzi for their dedication to providing these, essential myopia management solutions in Lebanon. They're truly making a difference.
Couldn't agree more. It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Likewise.
I hope our listeners feel empowered to take an active role in protecting their own vision and advocating for better eye health in their communities.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And until next time, remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to our health.